I use the word elite, and I think, Jim, one thing that you motivated me with as a player on another profession was your ability to rise to the occasion and your ability to stay balanced.
I think more than anything that I learned early on was it's not what you say to somebody, it's how you say it to them. Good example, if somebody's not running the right route, you don't start screaming at them, yelling at them for doing something that you should have been doing anyway. You want to tell them how you saw the route being ran and how you should run it. I don't think I've ever met somebody that was more of a leader and knew how to say it and how to communicate to his teammates better than Kyle Williams.
This is Buffalo. That is our field out there, and we will not lay down for anybody that comes in here.
I was never, ever going to ask them to do something that I either hadn't done or wasn't willing to do.
They give it to Kyle Williams, goes into the end zone, touchdown! Kyle Williams, touchdown!
When you guys were playing well, you're a consistent, calming factor. Balance, is something that you gave me by watching you. I saw that same consistency with Michael Peca. When you think about Michael Peca, you think about what he brought to the game each and every night, and you respect that.
I tried to play the right way, and I tried to practice the right way. And I didn't have much of a voice. I was a young captain in the National Hockey League, so I used what my greatest asset was, which was my work ethic to kind of bring through what my leadership was. This city was founded on blue-collar workers, and they just want to see guys work hard.
You're coming into a place that celebrates grit, toughness, and effort just as much as they celebrate talent.
That relationship is paramount because you have a major effect on them, and they have a major effect on you.
Well, welcome to Captain's Circle, presented by Labatt Blue Light, a series of special events for us this summer as we celebrate leadership and foster discussions between captains of the Sabres and Bills. And in this episode, we have 4 captains whose careers span the past 4 decades here in Buffalo, 2 from the football side, 2 from hockey, and of course, next to Matty Glab, I'm Brian Duff. It's great to have you with us. From the hockey side, from 1981 to 1990, this player was second on the team in goals, third in points, but he led Buffalo by a lot when it came to game-winning goals and penalty minutes. And he also led the Sabres into the playoffs in 7 of his 9 years. Mike Foligno, it's great to see you. How are you, Mike?
I'm very well, doing really good. I'm enjoying family time here back in Sabres, Ontario, and just kind of taking my time with spending some time with the grandkids. I got 5 kids real close to me right here, so it's been a lot of fun.
Good for you. And like Foligno, Michael Peca arrived in Buffalo via a blockbuster deal. And over the 5 seasons he spent with the Sabres, just proved to be an elite 2-way player within the game, all the while leading Buffalo in points and game-winning goals. And of course, to 4 straight playoff appearances, including a trip to the 1999 Stanley Cup final. Michael, how are you?
Good, Brian. How you doing, man?
Wonderful. It's great to have this group, isn't it, Maddie?
It is, and I'd like to welcome 2 faces that Buffalo is very familiar with, Jim Kelly and Kyle Williams. Kyle had a 13-year career with the Buffalo Bills and became known as the heart and soul of the team during his time in Buffalo. Kyle was a 6-time Pro Bowler and helped break the 17-season playoff drought. If you look at the Bills' record book for quarterbacks, Jim Kelly's name is all over the thing. In 11 seasons, he led the Bills to playoffs 8 times. Jim quarterbacked the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls and was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2002. Jim, Kyle, happy to have you guys here with us today.
Thank you very much, Maddie.
Thanks for having us.
Now, wearing the C is a long-standing tradition and an honor in hockey, and most NFL teams use them now as well. But Jim, when you were playing in the 80s and 90s, what was the role of a captain and how were they determined at that time during the NFL?
Well, to be honest with you, I kind of don't remember how we got picked back then. I don't know whether it was Marv picked them or I don't think we voted. I think it was more Marv picked who the captains were going to be. And I know from the mental approach, you as a quarterback, you pretty much most of them that I've talked to or know have been in that leadership role ever since they were kids. When you're a quarterback, everybody looks to you for, of course, the play, but your leadership ability and being able to say, as I said before, being able to say that right thing at the right time. And then when things aren't going well, being able to motivate your teammates around you to step it back up and forget about what happened. And I know that that was one of the things that I was very blessed back in the day, is having a head coach like Marv Levy, because a lot of things that we felt he said. And, of course, he said a little different than we would have said it. We might have a couple of bleeps in there. But the bottom line is we knew how to work together. And I think one of the greatest things that we had, there wasn't just one leader. When I was a captain, I had, Thurman Thomas. I had Bruce Smith, which Bruce was more of a leader on the field. He wasn't one that was very vocal a lot. Darryl Talley took that part up on the defensive side of the ball. And then probably two of the guys that are not on this, but are one of the captains, Steve Tasker, and of course the other was Kent Hall. And we were blessed, and I'm sure Michael and Mike, and I know Kyle would say the same thing, that you can't go on a team, especially a football or a hockey team, especially football, when you have 22 players in offense and defense, then you have the special teams, to everybody being able to listen, pay attention to what the captains are saying, and be able to put your arms around it.
Jim, it's a perfect segue. This episode of Captain's Circle is really about, we want to know how captains bring all the egos together so there's harmony in the locker room, how you lead through the toughest of times, the heartbreak and the disappointments, but also how you lead by example, by leaving it all out there. And it's kind of a discussion where we talk about gearing up for greatness and establishing yourself as a leader amidst so many personalities. Michael, how would you say that you approach that? I know you mentioned you're a young captain, but that doesn't change the fact that there's an awful lot of different personalities that you're walking into and amongst.
Yeah, I mean, I think in my situation as a young captain, it was good to have some strong veteran voices. Rob Ray was a strong vocal guy in the locker room. My whole style, whether it's in the game or away from the game, I like to deal with things on a one-on-one basis, because as I was getting on in my career, personalities were changing and you had to manage the different personalities. It wasn't like one message fit all. So, I mean, if there was something really urgent, I wasn't the kind of guy to call people out necessarily unless it was very, very warranted. I like to take more of a personal approach, put my arm around a guy and have a conversation, because most oftentimes there's a reason why things aren't going the way that they would like for that player. And if you can get the root cause of it and help them along, oftentimes you're going to see a resolution to that, then going a different way, and maybe they go into a shell a little bit. So when I started to figure that out, I was getting more comfortable speaking out in the locker room and on the ice and on the bench. But if you're a leader, and everybody's touched on this, if you're not doing it first, you have no right to open your mouth. So you always had to be sure that you were doing it, you're playing the right way. That gave you the authority to open your mouth and say something.
Mike, what was it like following the likes of Gilbert Perreault and Lindy Ruff as captains?
Yeah, I mean, some great, character people there for sure. All the qualities the guys are talking about are these are great characteristics of leadership. And you talk about being average, and average looks at a mistake as failure, and being elite. An elite player looks at mistakes as opportunities. And I think that change of mindset is so huge but difficult to try to create. And when you're in pursuit of elite, you have to own your role. You have to be laser focused. And I think that as a captain, you help everyone get back on that train when some things go bad, but also to maintain that level of balance and focus and direction when things are going good. So not too many guys get too high, because if you get too high, that's not good. And if you get too low, again, it's hard to get back up when you're beating yourself down. The game is tough enough as it is. The sport is a great sport. Keep it, fun. Make sure that's entertaining for yourself, and you stay motivated that way. But at the same time, these are all great qualities and characteristics, and you learn from each other. You work with each other on a daily basis.
Kyle, from your standpoint, based on what Maddie talked about and the fact that trying to get out of that drought, how year in, year out did you feel you changed in pursuit of the playoffs and trying to bring everyone along with you?
For us, if you're going to get a group of not just 11 on defense, 11 offense, you're talking about a group of 53 guys that are on your team. And if you're going to get those guys to buy into what you're doing, you have to have some player-driven leadership. You need to know your people, know the people you're dealing with, who you need to pull to the side, who you need to wrap your arm around them. And the main thing for me was I wanted guys to understand that I was there for them. I was there to serve them as a guy. So I wanted to be a servant leader. And what I mean by that was, hey, look, from a defensive line perspective, when we're doing these things and I'm setting this up, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that, I needed them to see and understand defensively that what we're doing is not all about Kyle. It is what is going to give us the best opportunity to be successful. And I think the more time you spend around guys, they would see that, and then they would buy in. So there has to be this sort of amount of buy-in as you go along. And I think once you get there, once guys start to trust you, you build relationships with guys, you can call them out. You can wrap your arm around them because they know that you love them, you're there for them, and you care about the team, and you're a team guy above all else.
And Jim, what about you? How did you take a team that went to the Super Bowl 4 straight times? I mean, the roster was chock full of talented players. So how did you lead a team where there were so much talent? And egos are easy to have on a team that has a lot of talent. But how did you help lead a team where you guys could come together as one and not worry about, the stat sheet or who had the best game and whatnot?
I know, Maddie, you wanted to say with so many egos. That's what you wanted to say, I know. I mean, we didn't have any egos. Me, Drew, Sturman, Andre, Daryl, Kent, Will, Cornelius, Nate. I can go on and on. And I know both Michael and Mike remember those years. And, we went through our tough times. I think, you're talking about, saying the right thing and saying the right thing at the right time. You have to learn how to pull together. And we did have a bunch of egos on our team. I mean, everybody knows that. But until we knew how to come together, we weren't going anywhere. And I think that's one of the things that we learned as young players, that we're going to have to put our egos aside. We're going to have to realize we're all in this together. And as soon as we did that, we were able to accomplish some of our goals. And I think when you look at the run that we did have, we were in the AFC Championship game 5 out of 6 years. And when you don't win, how do you get everybody to think on the same page year after year after year? And when you don't win, all the negativity that we heard in the offseason from people, and how do you I knew Bruce and Thurman, all those guys were going to work their tails off physically, but really wasn't 100% sure early on mentally how they were going to be able to accept hear all the negativity outside the locker room, outside the city of Buffalo. Well, it didn't take very long for us to realize that we were together. And right now, we are even close now as we travel. We go Napa Valley together. We, us and our wives, and we get together. My golf tournament, good example. And I know Michael and Mike, you both have been there. And how we all come together and stay close, which we all are now through those times and even during these times nowadays. So we just knew that we were going to have to pull together, and thank God we did. And I was very blessed to play on a team where we had a bunch of guys that were pretty much all captains, but one guy led them all, and that was Marvin.
Do you all have a I'm the captain now moment when you think back to your time in Buffalo and your careers? You have a game, a practice, a moment where you look back and you think, yep, that is my I'm the captain now moment.
I really couldn't point to one specific instance. I think that where that kind of got built up for me is when you get into training camp, and it's August and it's hot and you've been there a while, and you're I caught the back end of the NFL when we still did 2-a-days, which they don't do anymore. But you're getting after it, and you're really laying a foundation, as a player, And B, if guys are looking at you, can we count on this guy? When the lights turn on, when it gets hard, when it gets tough, what's this guy going to do? Is he going to answer the bell? Is he going to spit the bit? And I was like, you know what? I always want the guys around me. I don't know how great of a player I'm going to be, but I want my teammates to know that, hey, when it gets tough, that cat right there, he's going to lace his shoes up and he's going to go to battle for me. So I think it just kind of built from that. Everything that I did, whether it was on the football field or off as a leader, it was in the pursuit of being the best teammate that I could be. And I think it all just kind of built from there.
We knew if we were going to be successful, we needed 4 lines and 6 defensemen to play well. We couldn't do it with 3 lines or 2.5 lines or 3D. We truly needed everybody to work hard. And I think because we had that, every guy felt like it was their team. They were a part of the success as well as the failure. So it's really easy to pull guys together when they know they all have a role to play. They know they all have an impact on the outcome of our games. That made it easy. And I think the thing that also made it easy, we were such a close group away from the rink as well. I think it's one thing to be close when you're in the environment of your profession, but you're doing a lot of stuff away from the rink, even in Buffalo, with wives, girlfriends, everything else. And we're just a close group. So, to go back to, when you know people's personality, their character, what they're all about, you're comfortable holding each other accountable where it's a healthy environment. So I think just it was easy in those years. We did have some turnover, but I think because of our core makeup of hardworking, honest working guys, those guys knew what they're coming into. The guys from 98 to 99, they knew when they came to the Buffalo Sabres what was going to be required of them, and they didn't disappoint.
What about when something might not be right between a player and a coach? Does the captain get involved? Does the captain have to carry his teammates' message and try to smooth things out?
There's no question when you're pursuing excellence that there's going to be conflict. And, it's the old way meeting the new way. Your old mentality, your old work ethic, meeting the new style, the new way. To move forward, you got to let go of the old. And sometimes you just need to, talk it out. Sometimes you got to remove yourself from that environment and wait for another day. I wish I knew then what I know now about these kinds of things. You're always trying to elevate the leadership qualities of the people around you. So as a coach, you want to work on the culture, you want to work on the behavior, you want to work on the results. Before you can do any of that, you have to raise the leadership level. And leadership creates the culture, which creates the behavior, which gives you the positive results.
You guys all been on the ice or on the field for warm-ups where something may just be a little bit off. There's a funk at that time. The guys aren't firing right. There may not be the type of juice that you want in that moment, and the game starts and it's flat. And the game isn't going well. You could be down. It could just be a lull in shifts and things like that. But has there been a time where you guys can think back to a game where you had to address the team either on the bench or at halftime? And was there a time where that shifted once you talked to the team and you saw a different product on the field or on the ice after having that talk?
One time I can think of specifically, it was Sean McDermott's first year. We had gotten kind of blown out in the second half in the Saints, and then we go to LA and we play the Chargers. And, we're not playing well, obviously. We have a bunch of turnovers. I mean, we're getting destroyed in LA, and we're just having a rough go of it. And defensively, we kind of come together, and the game's well out of reach. And we just sat there, and I just stressed the guys. I said, look, guys, obviously this isn't going our way. It's not going to go our way, but when you put this helmet on, you put these colors on, this represents more than the name on our back. And when you do it, when you hit that field, we're going to do it a certain way. We're going to do it together. And obviously I was a little more colorful and a little more agitated than I am right now, 3 years removed from it. And, just challenge the guys, just finish strong. And, we finish the game, we get out of there. Obviously, nothing changes the game. But we go into a second half of the year, or back half of the year there, where we are able to win some games, win some tough games, and get into the playoffs. I don't know specifically that little instance made that big of a difference, but to stand there and challenge those guys when you're just buried under a heap of criticism, of embarrassment, of getting beat that badly twice in a row, and standing in front of them and saying, hey, look, I'm going to get out in front of this with you. I'm going to stand here and own it with you, but look, we got a lot of work to do. We better get back out there and finish the right way. Is the one time that I can really specifically point to it.
I'm going to just chime in to where Kyle said, talking about the vocal part of leadership. As I said earlier when we started this about Kyle's leadership, he was more of a vocal leader, even though he led by example on the field. But when it came to really getting somebody hyped up in the second half when things weren't going, Darryl Talley was very, very good at doing that. He was one of our vocal leaders, knew what to say. But we were always blessed that we all led by example. I mean, a lot of times, majority of times, we didn't need somebody to scream and yell at us. Marv always knew what to say at the right time, even though at times what he said, some of us did not understand. And that's when Marv would always say, well, if you don't understand Thurman, look that up for everybody.
I've always been a firm believer. If a coach has to come into the locker room and yell at the team, I've always believed the leaders have failed the team at that moment. If the leaders are doing their job and they're recognizing it and they're getting people to step up, because the players have a better pulse of what's going on for the most part than the coaches do. I think there's a powerful philosophical meaning to all cliches. When you say back to basics, there's so much more to it than just saying get back to basics. It's working hard, finishing your checks, have a great attitude, short, hard shit. There's a lot of little things that you got to build it back up. It's not going to you're going to yell at people and then, presto, the game's going to go your way. You can get a little bit of a boost, but it's focusing on the right things to kind of, if you can start with that momentum the next period and then into the next practice, so you can carry it through to the next game.
Hey, Mike, did you change games more because of fights, goals, or your words?
It's crazy, but sometimes all you need is one word. And we were in a game one time, and it was really the most pressureful part of the game, the last couple minutes of the game. And there was a break in the action. Guys are coming to the bench. And everybody, for whatever reason, from the training staff, the equipment manager, the coaches, all the assistants, everybody on the bench, everybody started talking. Everybody wanted to say something to get us ready for the next shift. And I remember at the far end, one of the players was looking at it. I just happened to catch his eye. And he's looking at us, and he's looking at the whole bench, kind of just up in arms. And he looks down and he says, "Shut up." And everybody shut up. And he said one word: breathe. Just breathe, guys. We're going to be okay. Just breathe. And I thought it was the greatest thing. We went out to win the game. It was awesome.
Perfect. Well, captain material is what we're surrounded with. And, I think the beauty of the game is that fans embrace the leaders and they cheers the captains like no other. And since we have Labatt Blue Light on board, Maddie, we thought it would be a good opportunity to cheers our captains here with us today. And I think we're always wondering, who they would raise a glass to when given the opportunity. What do you think, Maddie?
Yeah, is there one person in your life that taught you something about being a leader or influenced your career that you look back to and are very thankful that you came into contact with that person, whether it's a family member, a coach, or a former teammate?
My father always told me about the work ethic, that there's always going to be people out there that, are just as good as you, but what's going to separate you from them is your work ethic. And I remember many times going out in my backyard as a little kid and getting tired of throwing the football. My dad's like, "You're staying out there because you're not eating until you're done." So I'd have to throw so many footballs. But he always used to tell us that there's going to be other people that are better athletes. And as I said before, he said, you need to work harder than they are. They're going to be faster, they're going to be bigger, they're going to be stronger, but this is what you have to do. But he told all of us, all 6 boys that he had, and we learned from each other. So I point out my dad, I point out my high school football coach, but also my 5 brothers. And really nowadays in my life, all the things that we've been through as a family, my wife. She has taught me so much about life in general, nutrition and those things. And how that you learn from your mistakes, which I'm sure I can speak for everybody. We've all made our own mistakes, but the things that I've been through with my life with cancer, and of course, number one, my son Hunter, and how to go about life like that. And you're going to go through tough times, but your attitude that you have, and surround yourself with good quality people. And I've done that. And my wife probably more than anything has rallied my mind into that circle where I know that the things that I used to do before, I learned from them, and I'm moving on with my life. And I'm making myself a better man now, but all probably through what my son went through, going through all the things that he did. So I've been very blessed because I've been around a bunch of good people, and I have a lot of good friends. Like Kyle was one of my good friends. But like I said many times over, I'm a very blessed man to have great people around me.
Kyle, who's that one person in your life that has affected your career?
Well, I'm kind of like Jim. There's no possible way I could single out one in particular without feeling like I slighted someone else. I think if I had to put two in the group of one, it would be my parents. Along the same lines of what Jim said, my parents instilled in me really, really early, you can have $1 million dream and a $1 work ethic. You better be the hardest working, the toughest after it. And I really just had great people growing up that really doubled down on that for me, from high school coaches, like Jim said, to college coaches, to Sean McDermott, coaches in the NFL, guys that really, really poured into me and that I gathered from. And then, obviously with my family now, my wife and my 5 kids.
When I start with the foundation of what my leadership was, I always talked about my work ethic. And even though there wasn't a lot of things said in our house when I was growing up, I was able to observe. And sometimes it's even more powerful to observe than to hear. And what I saw in my family and how hard they had to work to support, 3 boys, I think I took something from that. But like everybody, I think that gets to play professionally for a long period of time, I was absolutely blessed with amazing coaches. All of them may end up going to the Hall of Fame. I wish there was a way to get my coach when I was 9, 10 years old into the Hall of Fame, because he really taught me some incredible lessons on being humble and humility. But from Brian Kilray and Jr. to Pat Quinn and Ted Nolan and Lindy Ruff, I mean, I played for nothing but Hall of Fame coaches, and I had nothing but Hall of Fame captains and leaders. I was a sponge, I was around great people, and I absorbed as much as I could because I always wanted to be better at everything I did. I wanted to pride myself in being able to do anything that was required on the ice at any given time. So I just absorbed everything from everybody, and I was just fortunate to have the right people to absorb from.
At my age, it can't be just one person. You got to give you a little bit more than one opportunity. My father died when I was 10 years old, and my mother became the leader of the house. And she was the epitome of hard work and dedication. And she was all about family. And so I dedicate, my life to making her proud of me. And, I think it's always motivated me through the most difficult times of my life. The second one would have to be just my family, the support they've given me, my former coaches, my teammates. But there's 3 people I want to mention from the Buffalo area. One is Guy Ferrelli, one is Larry Playfair, and the other one is Ilio DiPaolo.
Woo, yeah.
Jim Kelly,
Ilio.
good friend. Jim Kelly, was he not the best man? I say these names from the Buffalo area. I say them because I really believe that in our community of Buffalo, you as an athlete play, I think, harder because the people behind you that are supporting you. And those people, you do not want to let them down. So I think that connection to not only just our own family, but the connection of community is huge. And I think that was those people were inspirations for me.
It's interesting you bring that up, Mike, because I think we were all thinking along the lines too, looking at the 4 of you and recognizing the city that we're talking about that you played in, which is Buffalo, which, may or may not have a chip on its shoulder. But it also, you guys have brought up some tough players that were teammates of yours. Did you guys as captains feel like you had to play fearless and tough, in part because of the market here you were playing in?
You never wanted to let anybody down. And athletes are the greatest people, I think, to work with because they understand work ethic, they understand discipline, and there's a sense of pride and respect in being a professional. I remember one guy a long time ago told me a story, and it was about Joe DiMaggio. And he said that Joe DiMaggio, he worked so hard each and every game. And the guy asked him, he says, Joe, how come you work so hard every night? And Joe DiMaggio said, because I don't know if someone's in the stands watching me play for the very first time. And when I heard that, I said, I got to be like Joe DiMaggio. Every night I got to give it my best. So that's kind of where my mentality was as an athlete.
Kyle?
You know, I've shared this before in the past. I've had an opportunity to speak with the last couple of rookie classes and different people, coming into the Bills organization or really getting acquainted with our community for the first time. And I explained to them, I said, listen, you're coming into a place that celebrates grit, toughness, and effort just as much as they celebrate talent. And I think in my career, I think between the fan base and myself, we almost recognized our counterpoint in the other. Like, I knew that they loved that, and that's how I wanted to build my game. I wanted that to be the hallmark of my of the way that I played. Like, the guy's relentless, he's tough, he's not going to quit. And I told the guys, like, yeah, look, hey, you're going to get a lot of pomp and circumstance because you ran 4.3 at the combine, but 10 years from now, when that 4.3 is not quite that, but you still go out there on Sunday, the people in the community fill that stadium up, rain, sleet, snow, or shine. They're going to point down there and go, you see that guy right there? They're going to be talking to their kid or their grandkid or their nephew, and they're going to go, you see that guy right there? That guy puts those colors on, and every single weekend he gives it what he's got. And I try to express that to guys that are coming behind me, because you know who I learned that from this man sitting right here.
I know that I'm sure most guys will all agree to this. When you're in a pivotal game or a pivotal time of your life, you never want to let the people down that are there to cheer you on. I was hurt when we lost our first Super Bowl. I mean, I was a little boy in my backyard, and I dreamt about leading my team down with 2 minutes to go to the Super Bowl and winning it. That's pretty much what happened to me my first Super Bowl. When you don't win it, you feel you left people down that were there to cheer you on. But when you do it 4 times in a row and you don't win, then you start really hurting in your heart that you let a lot of people down. And then you realize, you know what? We don't go through tough times in our life, but it's your attitude that you have, making people around you that mean a lot to you, proud of you, that you will never, ever, ever give up. And that's pretty much has been my life. And but again, I've been blessed to have great people around me.
This town was founded on that. Like this city was founded on people and blue collar workers, and they just want to see guys work hard. I mean, it's a special quality that this town has, and they want to see it in their athletics. And God willing, they're going to see championships soon from both teams.
Michael, that's a perfect segue into our next topic. We touched on the grit and the blue-collar-esque atmosphere that this city, Buffalo, presents. But there's been plenty of national spotlight during all of your careers in Buffalo. Jim, I'll start with you. 11 seasons on the Buffalo Bills, 4 Super Bowl appearances. I mean, the Bills are in the spotlight during those seasons. How did you want to see Buffalo as a city represented when your team was in the national spotlight?
Blue-collar people never give up. They fight through everything, good times and bad times. And when I first got here, of course, before that, I did not want to come here. I wanted to play somewhere where it was nice at, which I did in Houston for a couple of years, but the fans here, the people here are just amazing. And I still do to this point, because I travel the country talking to companies that are represented with people with cancer or people that are going through tough times. And you want people to know that it's more than just about snow. We have beautiful weather here at times. You travel, you want to tell people, they go, why do you still live there? Which I still do. I think number one is the people. They're amazing. I cannot ask for anybody wherever I go that treats you better than people from Buffalo. And they just fight through everything, through good times, the bad times. they're going to be the same. They keep fighting. I just love being a part of this community.
Kyle, it was a little different for you. You went through 7 coaching changes during your time with the Buffalo Bills. But in 2017, when you broke that 17-season playoff drought, and how that happened with the circumstances with the Bengals, how you got into the playoffs, the Bills were in the spotlight during that time. How did you want the city and your team to be viewed in the national spotlight?
Well, like you said, we didn't have near the run that Jim and those guys did, but I think the way that I wanted the city represented was exactly the way that it was. I remember, we fly in from winning the game in Miami and just thousands of people at the airport, 1 o'clock in the morning, New Year's Eve, snow on the ground, and just people everywhere. And the greatest thing happened between those 2 Sundays are that, in my opinion, the Bills fans got their due. They were on TV, they were on ESPN, just showing the passion that they had for their community and for their team. And I don't think that they could have been represented any other way than as the best fans in the league, and that's what they are.
Michael, you captained the Sabres to a Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, that is the epitome of people paying attention to the city of Buffalo, taking a team to the highest level they can be taken in a season. What did you want others to think about the city of Buffalo during your time on the team?
We were known in the league as the hardest working team in hockey. And I think when I remember back to then, a lot of guys referenced the city of Buffalo, which is, why we were the way we were. We were just a group of guys that worked real hard. And we always say we represent the crest on the front of our jersey, but I think we always believed that crest meant more than just the organization. It meant all of the city of Buffalo, Western New York, because we know how much that the fans in Buffalo really get behind their sports teams. I grew up my whole life wanting to win a Stanley Cup, but it gets to a point, like in that, especially in '99, I wanted to do it for the city, and I wanted to do it for my teammates, because I always felt it became more powerful when it was something more than just yourself. It helped shape the character of our team living it, and it's part of the reason I still love the city and live here today.
All right, time for the Labatt Blue Lightning Round. It's rapid-fire questions, short answers from everybody. Maddie, lead us off.
What's the tougher or more difficult sport to play, football or hockey? I got to hear all your answers.
Hockey.
Thank you, Michael.
I think it's football.
I'll say hockey because I'm a terrible skater. So, I could be taking a swipe at something. So I'd be in a bind doing that.
I would say hockey because I've never been on ice skates in my life. And I think, Michael, you might know George Schickle, good friend of Rob's. And he bought me ice skates for Christmas one time. I said, "What are these for?" Because I blew out my ankle so many times playing basketball. He said, "You need to get on the ice." I said, "What, so you can embarrass me?" No, thank you.
All right, Michael, who would you rather captain, a young team with potential or a team of proven veterans?
I love the role of mentorship, and I'd rather have the young group.
That's a tough one. That's like a 50-50, but I think for me it would be the older guys.
Older for me, just if I had to choose, given the choice, I'd want some guys that I feel like I knew where they were as far as vision.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it is a tough decision. I'd rather go with some guys that understand the work ethic that I had going into it, and also the will that they have in their hearts.
Who is the last teammate you texted?
Chris Kelsey.
Rob Ray.
The last guy texted was Lindy Ruff. He just got the head coaching job with Jersey, so I wanted to congratulate him.
We have a group texting message that we do all the time. It's me, Bruce, Thurman, Andre, Cornelius Bennett, Will Wolford, Steve Tasker, Daryl Talley, there's like 9, Chris Moore, and they text every single freaking day. It drives me. I don't want to be in his text message, but you have no other choice. Sometimes it makes me smile. Sometimes I'm like, really? You really said that? To be honest with you, I don't respond a lot. I just listen and laugh. I'm like, you guys are wackadoodle.
I hear that group is called the 9 Presidents group text message. Pastor talks about it all the time.
Okay, how do we order our wings? Kyle, we start with you.
Mild, lots of blue cheese.
Medium. I used to be mild, but I'm medium now.
Dry Cajun rub.
I gotta throw the Italian in there somehow, right? Little oregano, little basil. You know, gotta keep it real.
I'm hungry now. What? Come on, man.
All right, guys, let's finish this off with one last question. If you're watching a sunset over Lake Erie this summer, which drink is in your hand? Are you drinking a blue light, or are any of you into the seltzer life? A blue light seltzer, maybe?
Blue light or a bourbon? It's a toss-up.
Blue light, of course.
In that setting, I think I'd have to go with the blue light lime, actually.
Mine's a blue. Original. Keep it real.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for today. It was an awful lot of fun. And when you get minds like yours together, hopefully a learning experience too for a lot of the players that are still in the game today. We thank our crew. We thank you for watching. And of course, we're gearing up for our next episode now of Captain Circle, presented by Labatt Blue Light.